Tonight, marching orders. Canadian troops are heading back to Afghanistan. Does this mean no Canadian presence in any move on Iraq? Cities on alert. Missile launchers in Washington, armored vehicles in London. Should Ottawa be taking special measures too? Ouch. Prices are soaring at the pumps. Home heating is leaving Canadians cold. What's going on? And against all odds,
if sheds like this ever completely empty, you will have mass starvation.
Brian Stewart returns to Ethiopia, a country facing another devastating famine. But this time, there's hope.
So however difficult things might be, desperation and despair is not something that enters my mind.
See why in a special documentary.
The National. From the Canadian Broadcasting Centre, here is Peter Mansbridge.
Good evening. The atmosphere is saturated with thoughts of security tonight, emanating at every turn, threading across time zones. In two world capitals, military armor is on the streets. And here at home, new marching orders for Canada's military. Troops are returning to Afghanistan to join the international security force. The government calls it part of an ongoing commitment, but for critics, an escape route from any possible military action in Iraq. Here's Eric Sorensen.
This is the Canadian military's current rapid reaction unit. The 3rd Battalion of the Royal Canadian Regiment training in Eastern Ontario. It could be part of the next major overseas deployment, a deployment to Afghanistan of 1,000 to 1,500 troops announced today.
Canada is willing to serve with a battle group and a brigade headquarters for a period of 1 year, starting late this summer.
Afghanistan. It's where Canadian troops distinguished themselves in the so-called War on Terror last year. It's where 4 Canadians were killed by an American bomb. And it's where Canadians will now return to help stabilize the shaky Afghan regime.
Not in combat as we were before, but in a UN-based peacekeeping force, of which I think Canadians will take great pride.
Militarily, Afghanistan may be dangerous, but politically, it's much safer than the potential alternative, Iraq.
Not from my understanding of the number of troops that we have available. It's either or.
The former Minister of Defense, who pulled troops out of Afghanistan last summer because they were stretched thin, says Canada is in no position to commit substantial land forces to both Afghanistan and Iraq.
We have a small force, remember, and if you send a battle group into Afghanistan, you don't have really other forces available in any large number.
Some critics think the government is trying to avoid tough choices about Iraq in the days ahead.
That's a choice we shouldn't be making today.
Well, what's your answer?
Because the government should have provided what was necessary so that we could be involved in both operations.
So you don't...
Ottawa's political dilemma, if the U.S. goes to war in Iraq, is this. Sending Canadian troops would be controversial on the home front. Not sending them could anger the Americans. This military analyst says this move may protect Ottawa from criticism.
And once you send the troops that we will be sending to Afghanistan, there will be absolutely no question of us being able to send troops to Iraq. So he basically short-circuits any request from the Americans to do so, but allows us to say that we're still contributing fully.
Tomorrow, the Prime Minister will address the question of Iraq head-on in the United States with a major speech in Chicago. He's not expected to preach against military action, but will target unilateralism, cautioning the Americans not to ignore the United Nations or multilateralism when it comes to considering war. Eric Sorensen, CBC News, Ottawa.
The United States is